Hola, comadres. Kathy here with your Tuesday Pep Talk. And today, I want to talk about regrets. We all have them. We have regrets about life choices we made or life choices we didn't make. And the reality is that sometimes the regrets are stealing our present and our future. The reality is, whatever I did yesterday, last month, last year, wherever it was in the timeline of my life, at that point in time, I was doing the best I could with the information and resources I had available. My information may have been faulty. My resources may have been inadequate. I made whatever choices I could make at that time in that space in life. The reality is, I can spend a lot of time looking back on the coulda, woulda, shoulda, all those things in life that I might have managed better. I might not have lost my temper. I might not have had a meltdown. I can spend all that time just looking behind me over and over at the past. It's not going to benefit the now or the future, is it? The reality is, self-forgiveness is one of the most important parts of growth. Regrets, we probably all have some regrets, but we have many, many things that we can show evidence of growth. So if something I regret that I did last year, or when my children were young, or when I was growing up, whatever I did back there, if I am no longer living that reality and continuing to fall down into the same pattern, then that is progress. Regrets are when we get frozen looking at roadkill, basically. A regret is when you stop and you run it over and over and over and over in your mind. And that keeps you from seeing what's coming. So imagine that you just walk out into the highway and you're looking at that dead armadillo. Depends where you live, right? You might see a dead armadillo or a dead possum or a dead raccoon or even a deer. Now, nobody likes the idea of looking at roadkill. It's disgusting. It's terrible. It's awful. You feel bad when you see it. You feel bad for the creature, but you also feel bad for whoever hit it. Like there's times when, like I will slow all the way down to nothing to not even hit a squirrel, and the car behind me is like, what the, Hey, the reality is empathy is one of the things that can be a good quality in us, but it can also give us the capacity to overdo it on regret because we're still feeling bad about something we did a long, long, long time ago. The reality is you were doing the best you could in that moment. So what I want us to focus on today is that it is true that we all have a past. It is true that we all have things that we're not proud of. It is true that we all have core wounds. Some of us talked about that last week on our live stream. Core wounds are the things that they hurt deep down and they keep coming up and they manifest in different ways. If I get paralyzed by regrets, then I am stuck tight and I can't move forward and I can't see any of the progress I've made. So what I want to say about regrets today is that everybody has them. How much emotional real estate are you giving them right now? Yeah, if I had some do-overs, there are things that I would do over in my life, in my parenting, in my relationships. But you know what? The past is in the past, like they say. One of the things that regrets can do is I can look at that as a fact instead of a guilt-producing spiral. Okay, do we see the difference? A fact is there were times when I felt like I had to be at work and my children were sick and I was still at work. That's a fact. Regrets is when I'm saying I'm the most terrible mother. I did everything wrong. I can't believe I did that. They're ruined for life. They're scarred for life. The reality is, I did not have the compassion for myself as a mother to even give myself what I needed at that time. So if I'm not able to take care of my needs, how am I going to take care of my children? The reality is, there's things that I would do better. What do? We do better when we know better. That's the deal, right? Sometimes the advice or the information we have is defective. I'll give you an example. When my son was about maybe a year old, he got a fever, and the fever kept going up, and it kept going up, and it kept going up. And I was getting panicky, and I didn't know what to do, and I was following any guidelines that I had about fever. And I called a friend of mine. She was older than me. She had 8 kids. I figured her children survived. She would know what to do, right? Well, she told me to give my son an alcohol bath. And I was like, what is an alcohol bath? She's like, well, no, you just take rubbing alcohol, you get some cotton balls, and you soak in rubbing alcohol, and you just, put that on his skin, take off his shirt, take off his t-shirt, just rub it on him, and he'll cool down. So, that's the information I had. The resources and information I had was the lady who told me to give an alcohol bath. So I did what I was told. I did what I was advised. I got the rubbing alcohol, and he seemed to feel cool for a little while. And then when I checked his temperature again, the fever had spiked to 103. So the information and resources I had were not effective. They were actually, I found out later, defective. Now, my friend was telling me what someone told her, right? Well, finally, when I was in the panic zone and I was ready to, you could not Google WebMD back in the day, no existing of the internet when my son was 1 year old. I finally called to ask a nurse, and I'm blubbering, and I'm like, he has 103. I've done everything they told me. I don't know what to do. He's so hot. I don't know. Is he going to have a seizure? What's going to happen? They're like, ma'am. What have you already tried? Well, I gave him the alcohol bath. And they're like, the alcohol bath? I go, yes, I gave him the alcohol bath, and I put the alcohol on the cotton balls, and I put it on him, and he cooled a little bit, but then he got really hot. And she said, ma'am, this is what I want you to do. Run some lukewarm water in the bath. No alcohol. Take off his clothes, put him in the bath, and just gently pour some lukewarm water over him. Not cold water and not alcohol. I go, but wasn't the alcohol supposed to work? What did I do wrong? She said, ma'am, that's an old wives' tale. What we have learned now is that alcohol actually closes the pores, and you are trapping the fever in and making it worse. Oh my gosh, I feel terrible. I feel like I'm just here like burning my child up. The reality is, was the information I had the best information? Well, it's the best I had at the time. So that's what I mean about regrets. We're doing what we could with the information and resources we had in that moment. When I got more information, when I got better resources, I made a different decision. I got him in the bath. I used the lukewarm water. I poured it over his head. I sang to him. We played games, and the fever started coming down. But I could have gone 100 miles an hour in the wrong direction and then had even more regrets. So yeah, I can't undo that day when he was sick. I can't undo the times when my child was laying on the office floor and I didn't say I have to leave work and take him home or take him to the doctor. I can't undo those. Those are some regrets, but I don't need to give those regrets a permanent place in the luggage called guilt trip. The reality is I was doing the best I could in the situation and circumstances at the time. When we know better, we do better. And are we going to get tripped up by some of those things again? Yes. Sometimes I do the same thing on myself. When I need to go to the doctor or I need to do something, I just keep going. But I have learned over time, instead of getting paralyzed in those regrets, what can I do instead? I am capable of learning. I am capable of change. I am capable of accessing new resources to get different results. I am willing to try. I don't have to know everything. That's also part of it. We really kick ourselves when we didn't know something that we had no way of knowing we didn't know it. Right? It's like when they tell you to look up a word in the dictionary and you can't spell it. That never seemed very helpful to me. That's a whole different issue. But what I want us to look at on regrets is those are things that let's look at the facts. The facts happened at that time, and those facts are over. You got a new day, move forward, take what you've learned, and give yourself a break for what you didn't know.